Yo ho ho, it's Thursday the 23rd of December. In this evening's Christmas podcast special, we are reviewing the season so far, including looking back at our season predictions, best and worst matches, players that have hit and missed, and we also look ahead with COVID fingers crossed to our trip to Huddersfield on Boxing Day. I'm John Asper, this is the Seasides podcast special, the season so far.
It's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
How playing
yo ho ho
combat, the words coming out of the speaker would be flawless introduction.
Yeah, a lot of practice.
Oh, you're shit.
For the uninitiated, we did do the preview introduction. I did. I unfortunately forgot to press the go live button, which is pretty essential component of a live streamed podcast. So that's the reason why we're late. So apologies, everybody. Welcome in the chat. Great to see everybody on board. And as you can see, we've got a cacophony of Seasiders podcast presenters. We've got Sean, Connor, Tim, Mitch, who actually has to be called Mitch because Matt's here also, and Athers. So let's come to you, Matt, first. Great to have you back. And the fans have always been asking me about when you're going to do one of those pissed podcasts again. So the question that's on everyone's lips is, how many beers in are you?
A few. It has to be said. I'm like the Kevin Stewart of the podcast. You see me for 1 week, and then I disappear for 3 months.
Mitch, a man after your own heart. There, you love an analogy, don't you? And I think that was a great one.
Very good.
Yeah, just a 2:00 start today, so I think I'm pretty much prepared for today.
What have you been up to?
Just went down Harfield Road with the missus and the not so young child now, just for something to eat and a few drinks, and then carried on basically at home. And let's put it this way: there's only one of us who's awake in the house at the moment.
Now, do you remember when you were all kids and, well, I say kids in your early 20s, and you'd go out and you'd hammer it just before Christmas? Well, that was me last Saturday. So I thought it was going to be our last game for a while. And I hit it hard. I think I had about 8 pints, and that's a lot for me. And I spent all the next day spewing up. Mitch, it was good to catch up with you in the Bloomfield club. We eventually met up physically in life, didn't we? And it was a good day anyway, apart from spewing my guts up at the end.
Indeed. I haven't been in the Bloomfield for years, and I'd forgotten in the back room that the wonderful hall of mirrors effects you get when you go in. It was great.
That's a good one. From Size, this is like Celebrity Squares.
He stole my thunder. I was going to say that when it came out to me. That are a really shit Brady bunch.
Tim, that obviously the Celebrity Squares is only for those of a certain vintage, I believe. Yeah. I believe you're on the festive drinks this evening. I'd just like to show the listeners. So we thought it was quite funny.
I've got the old trusted G&T. That's the first one. And I've got the Grand Marnier. I'm working on the basis we're going to be here a while. And then on my daughter's suggestion, I've got the old baby Guinness, which is... as I said in the preview, I'm going for the hat trick of the long drink, the short drink, and the short. So hopefully Matt's with me.
Oh, yes. No doubt about it. If I just angle my camera over there and just go down, you'll see a very nice trolley.
Credit.
Full of stuff there. So I might just wander off to my right occasionally, John.
Is that like a drinks trolley? It
is.
A hostess trolley.
Yeah, it is. It's like, if you've seen... I'm trying to think what it's called now. Antiques. What's that thing with... Oh, it's just gone out of my head now.
Antiques Roadshow?
No.
Acorn Antiques.
Acorn Antiques, yeah. Is it on the trolley?
Oh.
Yeah, that's what it could be like. But I think we're talking gin, rum, and Kahlua as opposed to cake and tea. Anyway, so we'll see how the evening progresses.
Sean, unfortunately, you're housebound, aren't you? So thanks for coming on and dragging your diseased self onto the pod.
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. A bit breathless today, to be fair. But yeah, I'm trying to blag with the new rules. I'm trying to blag 2 COVID tests so I can get to Huddersfield on Boxing Day. But we'll have to see.
Is it 7 days now?
Yes, it's 7 days. So essentially, you just have to get 2 negative tests, and then you are good to go. Which I will definitely not get, but I will try and blag anyway.
Have Lancs Live given you an unclean bell just to ward off?
Yes, they have.
Ward off people like the Gazette, maybe, or what was that? The Blackpool Citizen? Is that still a thing?
No, definitely not.
I'm not sure we want Sean at Huddersfield. You know, kind of since taking the Lancs Live job, our form's been horrendous. And he gets struck down and isn't able to come, and we win a game. Stay there, Sean.
Connie, you pointed that out on the last pod, didn't you? I was chuckling at that as I was picking up some dog shit as I was listening to the pod and walking the dog.
Okay.
I think a good strap line for the podcast could be it's better than picking up dog shit.
That is a very good analogy for the pod.
No, it's not an analogy. It's a strap line, Joe.
All right, fair
Big
dues.
difference. Big difference. You know, it's better than XXX. Right, have we been through the celebrity squares? I think we have. So, what have we got for you this evening, listeners? Thanks for joining us, everybody. So, we're going to do the season so far. We're going to do best and worst, our predictions reviewed, Huddersfield preview, and then just match predictions at the end. So, let's kick off with the season so far, shall we? So, I think I'm going to come to you, Joe, first on this. Primarily because I want to test this new patron-supplied mic is working. So, how do you think Blackpool started the season, and are you happy with the first month? And while you're talking, I'll get the scores up. So, where you go?
Well,
Very good.
before a ball was kicked, if you'd have offered me 13th at the halfway stage, 30 points, and wins over Preston, North End, and Blackburn, I think most fans would have gone, yeah, I'll have that, definitely. Obviously, it's a bit disappointing that we had that really good October, followed by a miserable November. Expectations got risen a little bit due to that. I think we won 5 out of 6 games in October. And I'll admit, even I started getting a bit giddy and carried away and thought, who knows, maybe we could do it again, get in the playoffs again. But yeah, realistically, 13th at the halfway stage, I'm more than happy with that.
Okay, Mitch, let's come over to you next. Your summary of the season so far, then we'll pick into the details after this little section.
Yeah, very happy, really. I mean, it looked when we started, it looked like we were going to be outclassed in the first few games. The first one I saw was Coventry, and they sort of made a fool of us. It was not only for the Cardiff game, but they made a fool of us. Bristol, we sort of got a bit lucky, and it looked like it was going to be a long season. But really, after that initial period, we've been pretty consistent. And like Joe says, 30 points, can't complain. And we've had some great performances along the way, great days out, great home games. We've beaten Preston, we've beaten Blackburn. There's nothing to complain about. There have been a few duff games, but there always will be. You can probably go and watch Man City and there'll be a few duff games a season. So there's nothing to complain about. Very happy with where we're going.
Connor, over to you in the Manchester studio. Give us your penny for your thoughts.
I don't think anybody would, as we say, I think this is a great first season in the Championship. I think when you look back or kind of look back on the last 10 seasons, most newly promoted sides kind of end up, 20th, just out of a relegation zone, in a battle all season. A third of them get relegated almost immediately. So for us to be feeling pretty safe and comfortable at the halfway point, feeling like we're actually making progress and building the club up as we go along, rather than just fighting to survive. Absolutely, we're doing better, and I think anybody thought we would. I don't think it's going to last. I still reckon we're a side that is, on performances, going to be around 16th to 18th in the league. I think our massive over performance in October, as Joe said, really helped us. I don't think we're going to get, a purple patch like that again this season. So it might end up being a bit more of a grind. But we've got points on the board early, and we're in a great position to kick on.
Sean Connor was surprisingly, I don't know, a bit pessimistic there. He surprised me. Being our stats and numbers man, Sean, where do you see any patterns, and are you encouraged by what you see from a kind of a stats perspective?
To be honest, the stats are probably the main reason why Connor is thinking where he is, because in terms of like expected goal, chance creation, chance concession, we are generally like he says, about a 16th to an 18th position side. I think we have been throughout the season, really. Generally, it's just that we kind of got our lucky stints at times with like the Sheffield United game, for example, and then we didn't get the luck later down the line. So it kind of is all evened out on itself to be a bit of an even plane. But I was looking back today of the playoff winners from League One of the past few seasons. It wasn't since Barnsley in 2016-17. They were the last team to get more points at this stage than we did. The last 3 or 4 have had half the points pretty much that we have at this stage, and we've really sort of racked up a really good total now, to the point where if we sort of carry on the same progress, we'll end up with 60 points. That's more than enough to have a good season at this level. So it swings and roundabouts. I think it's hard to judge personally where we'll go from here based off of how much we'll look to improve, what areas we'll look to improve in. I still think, obviously, you can't go off one game against Peterborough to say that suddenly our final third and chance creation issues are suddenly gone, because I thought Peterborough weren't up to much in a defensive sense. So longer term, I think we still need to add quality in a few areas to be able to, if we want it to be a safe mid-table stint. But I think we'll be absolutely fine regardless. I think we'll be, like Connor says, we'll be no worse than 16th to 18th going forward.
And I think one thing I'm really encouraged by is a strong performance will help us get that talent. Players won't be coming in worried about if they're going to be in a relegation battle, if they're going to be in a club that's going to go down to League One, etc. And the management team don't have to plan for every contingency. Hopefully just allows us that little bit more focus as we go into recruiting and strengthening in the window.
Over to you, Matt. It's great points from Connor and Sean there regarding we're in a decent position, and if we do need to attract a bit more quality into the side, you're going to have the edge over a team like Barnsley. If we're in for the similar type of player, they're going to come to us, aren't they? If the package and the deals approximately the same. So, Matt, are you happy with what you've seen so far? And do you think we need to strengthen the squad ever so slightly?
Ever so slightly, yeah. I think it's in a weird way, it's almost similar to last season, isn't it? Really, that we sort of talk about the same sort of positions and the same sort of requirements come January window. And if we do manage to sort of strengthen in those particular areas, and again, I'm sort of talking like the spine of the team effectively. I can't see us having any issues at all, and I think we've done so well, and I think our sort of expectations might have been possibly a little bit too high at the start of the season, with the sort of euphoria of the playoff win still fresh in everyone's memory. But I remember going to Bristol City, and instantly I saw the difference between a fairly decent Championship side and ourselves was pretty big, and a last minute equaliser sort of got our season up and running. But I think we've coped so well, especially in the first couple of months of the season. I know we had a blip recently, but absolutely no complaints at all. It's all about being realistic, really, and I think we're in a good place. And I think we're hopefully just going to cement that sort of mid-table, and anything else than that is absolute bonus, isn't it?
Matt, that was unbelievable for a man who's been on the piss since 2 p.m. I mean, well done. That's a round
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. You never lose it, do you? It's like riding a
No.
bike.
Yeah. Mind you, I'd probably fall off a bike if I was put on one now.
Can actually be done for drunk driving, I think, for riding a bike, bizarrely.
Definitely.
Let's move over to Tim to confirm that. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Can you?
Well,
can you get
all I
done
can
for
say is
driving?
before I start, John, I'm rather concerned that my attempt to do a Nick Smith tribute with my hair has fallen very flat. So,
more like a flock of seagulls, almost.
It's a flock of dead seagulls. I think.
Yeah, it's like one or two.
But anyway,
seagulls,
that aside, I would, and I commend Matt for his professionalism. But I probably my observation from the start, from the first half of the season, is how well we've done against the teams above us, or the teams that are currently above us, I should say. We've had some very, very impressive performances against the best sides in the league. And then where we've probably fallen slightly short is when we've played the games where we thought we might win. And we perhaps had, perhaps not realistically, but had an expectation that we would. So, when we played the likes of Huddersfield, when we played Stoke, when we played Luton, Birmingham away, Derby away, where we thought we'd get something, we haven't. And then we've actually pulled the performances out when we've least expected it. So that's been a pleasant surprise. But I think what we've probably got to do moving forward is make sure that against the teams below us that we're picking points up against them. And so that's what I'm looking forward to seeing Critch working on, because I think that's probably just a little bit of naivety sometimes arising from the fact that we've probably got into the Championship slightly earlier than we would have expected. So, but I think I've been very, very impressed. Loving watching Blackpool at the moment. I think it's fantastic, and I think we are going to do slightly better in the second half of the season than we've done in the first half. And I still think mine and Sean's 11th prediction is a lot closer than the rest of you.
We will, listeners, be coming on to our match season predictions that we all put in at the beginning of the season. Very interesting piece of information to see where we were predicting teams were going to finish and where they actually are at the moment. So that's to come. So let's move on now to a feature I have titled Best and Worst. I'm trying to think. Speaking of best and worst, what's best? That view or that view? Best.
That one.
That one. Yeah. Okay, so this is like an open forum, if you will. So the first question I'm going to ask, raise your hands if you want to answer. Best and worst, best home game of the season. Sean.
Fulham for me. I know a lot will say Preston, but in terms of performance, I'd say Fulham. Especially at the time that we were going into it, I think I'd pretty much written that game off and thought we were going to get papped about 3 or 4-0. Obviously, this was the infamous game where me and Connor dropped bowler pre-match, and then he went and scored. But we were just so well set up off the ball. It was just a masterclass of what Critchley's wanting to do, and exactly why you were saying how well we played against the top teams. That was a real treat to watch, of just the tactical side of the game and how well coached we are as a side under Critchley. So I think Fulham at home was the game where I thought we really arrived in the division.
Sorry, Tim, I've just seen you put your finger up. Joe, then I'll come to you. Joe, you also raised your hands on the questions there. So, the best home game for you this season? And why?
I'm not going to be boring and say Preston because that's an obvious answer. I'll go with Blackburn at home. The fact that Blackburn have gone on to be a very good team this season and sit just outside the automatic promotion. The fact that first half we absolutely battered them, and second half I thought we were excellent defensively. It really was the Alamo at times, and players dropping like flies with injuries, and Stuart Moore making that last minute save. It was just one of the results of the season for me against a team that have gone on to prove they're a very, very good outfit. So yeah, Preston aside, I'd say Blackburn Rovers at home is probably my favourite home game of the season.
Tim, over to you.
Can I just check the rules? Are we just on best at the moment, or are we best
just
or
best,
worst? Yeah. All right, okay. Probably the one I enjoyed the most was probably not one of our best performances, and that was Sheffield United away. mainly because I killed the bookies. And secondly, I think it was just such a fantastic win at a place that we perhaps weren't expecting to get any points. If we're looking at the best performance of the season, I think it's very difficult to look beyond the ones that have been mentioned already. I think Fulham, I think West Brom as well, even though we didn't win the game, was fantastic. And QPR, even though, again, the result didn't quite go away, I felt every time we play high intensity and we're really pressing for the front, we always look a lot better side. And bar probably the second half against Peterborough, we seem to stop doing that over the last few games, and that's probably sort of coincided with our poor form. So yeah, I'd say Fulham and QPR at home stand out for me. P&E for the obvious reasons, just because of who we were playing. But Sheffield United tops a lot for a grab and smash, or smash and grab even, I think it is, isn't it? Smash and grab.
You can tell he's doing his own personal hat trick, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Matt, over to you. What was your most memorable game of the season so far?
Well,
home game. Tim's gone ahead of himself.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. Annoyingly, I was away on. I mean, I know these are rare things these days, but holidays for both Fulham and Preston. Would you believe? So, sod's law, isn't it?
I mean, at least you can come out with a different answer now, anyway. Can't
Yeah.
you?
Well, this is it. So, I don't know. I mean, Blackburn, I really enjoyed. Yeah, I think I'll echo exactly what Joe said. But I do wonder how much of an importance last Saturday's had. Really. You can see after the game, the players were celebrating like we'd won the World Cup. And they've obviously come through a bit of a rough time results-wise. So that in itself, although the game wasn't enjoyable particularly, apart from the last sort of 20 minutes or so, that could have a massive effect on our season. But yeah, I'll echo Joe, really, and go for the Blackburn one personally.
Connor, over to you. Sat there quietly at the back.
Yeah, I mean, my favourite home game, for purely selfish reasons, has to be the one against Stoke, because even though we didn't win it, it's the only time I've ever seen the atmosphere in the stands get a player subbed off at half-time. Ben Wilmot was just so bad and so noticeably bad that we all started cheering whenever he got the ball, in the West, near the manager. So everyone in the bench could hear it. And then, half-time, he didn't come back out, and it's to one time I feel like, we don't sing as loud as, the North Stand gang, but my little group in the West managed to get a player subbed off and humiliated simply by cheering loudly whenever he got the ball.
It's like sledging in cricket almost, being in the West, isn't it? You're kind of behind the action, you're behind the dugouts, and you can sledge them. So.
A lot of time I don't watch the game. I just spend my time winding up the subs.
You have to ask, though, whether that's tactically wise to try and get the worst player on the other team sent off. I want to question.
Yeah, Connor. Yeah. Mitch, over to you. I just want to get this out of my head before I come to you. I'm gonna say the Preston game, obviously, but the results aside, the best part of the season by far for me was at the end of the Preston game, where the Preston players were all serenaded to all four sides of Bloomfield Road singing "Preston get battered everywhere they go," as they all slowly trudged off.
Thank you, Joe, for that video as well. Thank you, Joe.
I was going to say, I've still got that on my phone.
Having gone to their own fans and get met with a volley of big fat boos.
Big fat boo.
That moment was, that'll stay in my memory forever. Being serenaded by the whole crowd. So that was my favourite moment anyway. The result was obviously fantastic. So Mitch, try and think of something we've not said.
I'll keep it short then. We're on home games, aren't we still?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for the spectacle, Blackburn, I really enjoyed because it was just so tense and it was kind of one of those really draining emotional experiences. because we, you know, it was just, well, Joe said everything about it. I think that was probably my favourite on a football level. I really enjoyed West Brom actually, even though I was isolating for that. I thought that was a cracking end-to-end game of football. But I think a lot of you have just been sort of slightly hipster in your choices, because we beat PNE 2-0 and we played him off the park, and that was, like John said, the atmosphere was just tremendous, and it was like walking up Bloomfield Road, and the flare, the smoke from the flares going up outside the Armfield and everything. It was just an absolutely fantastic day. You know, it was like this felt like it's the biggest game in football today in the whole of football, and you know, we didn't blow it, and you know, it was superb, and Gaz got a goal, and what more can you ask for? So I'm going to go for Preston.
See, I didn't pick that because I thought we played pretty average in that game. We just didn't have to play that well.
It doesn't matter. You went for the game where we had the best off the ball.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Tactics,
quite right.
You know,
we could have won.
Hang on a minute. I'll separate them. I'll separate them.
We had the chance to win that game 5-0 and we bottled it. We bottled it. We had a 5-0 on the cards and we bottled it.
I did laugh on the last podcast again as I was on my walk listening to the show, Connor, the previous reaction show. Very good, by the way. It was excellent. And I was laughing at the bit when Mitch was saying, "Oh, if only Gary Medina had scored." I think you said, "Oh yeah, Mitch would have been invaded the pitch, met by me on the west, and we would have met in the middle."
With some slow-mo romantic music in the middle.
Hugging each other in the middle of Bloomfield.
And Connor, you should have had the horn for the Dante reference, and because John wasn't there producing it, I mean, I've got to hold my hand up there and say that's trumped any Timism of this season so far, and I say that with a heavy heart.
Well, if I'm the editor, I can't play the horn sound because that would quite literally be tooting my own trumpet.
Yeah, but he's done it for himself. John's done it for himself.
There you go. Let's give Connor the horn.
Retrospective.
A retrospective horn. We're breaking new ground this evening on the Seasiders podcast. Right, best and worst, as we said. Let's move on to away game. Tim, you've had your say. I will agree with Tim. The Sheffield United game, I thought it was bloody brilliant. It had everything. We had a great piss up on the way there. Good laugh on the coach. Great performance. And a smash and grab at Bramall Lane. Smash and grab, Tim. There you go. Right, that was my favourite away day. Joe, I'll come to you next.
I'm going to go with Middlesbrough away because first half, to put it mildly, we were shite. And I really didn't see us getting anything out of that game. And granted, the winner was a bit fortuitous, but Big Marv tailing into a prime Ronaldo for his goal. Scenes in the away end. Unexpected victory after coming from 1-0 down at half-time. Yeah, fantastic. And
Joe, is this the one where you spent all second half on your phone and I had to text you to tell you to fucking put it down?
No, I think you'll find
the scores. Did you say when we've scored? Did you have to text him?
I texted him and said, put your effing phone down and watch the game.
It was the first half. I was checking on my
no.
FPL team. Because, quite frankly, first half we were garbage. But yeah, Middlesbrough for me. I really enjoyed that game. I thought we were excellent second half.
I do apologise, by the way.
I jest. But...
Yeah, this should have been best and worst. So we should have done worst home game. So we'll put that to bed. So let's do best and worst away day. So
okay, worst away is easy. Derby, that was fucking abysmal.
Thank you, Ashley, for kicking me off that coach. Thank you.
Yeah, Reading. I'd say Reading.
I wasn't at Reading, or I probably would have said Reading as well.
We did the drink along, didn't we? Here, and it's just
it
at
can
2-0.
Count. It can count even if we weren't there.
Yeah,
it can count.
At 2-0 down, I thought that was some of the best football we'd played generally on the ball, even at 2-0 down at half time. It was just two lapses of concentration that we conceded, and that second half, man, that was the best football that we've played under Critchley by a mile. We were unbelievable that day. just constant pressure, constant quick shifting of the ball. We always want, whenever we've wanted the 4-2-3-1, we've always wanted everyone to be interchanging and all in different positions. And that was like a motion of just the front four just constantly moving into different areas of the pitch. And Reading just didn't have an answer to it. It was absolutely unbelievable to watch. That by far was the best away game.
The game where Dale looked like prime Phil Foden.
And he will continue to do that, Joseph. When we get the strength in depth around him, he will become the Messiah
prime
once more.
Phil Mitchell.
I'm showing my age because I was actually thinking Johan Cruyff, but it's.
Okay, who wants to come next? Best and worst away day game. Go on, Mitch.
Yeah, I think my favourite one. I mean, the Reading was the best we've played. I'd say the two games I've enjoyed most under Critchley was in terms of football, was Reading and Oxford last year. I thought it was superb away at Oxford in not the playoff game, in the actual league game. But the one I enjoyed most was probably Bournemouth away. And I don't know if Tim remembers this, but I saw Tim at half time and sort of said, well, that's it. What's the point? We might as well just throw whatever. We had a few players on the bench who I don't think had played for us. We might as well throw them on, try something different, get a few minutes in legs. Pointless, come all this way. Absolutely hopeless. 2-0 down. We were absolutely outplayed. Bournemouth looked like a Premier League team. We looked like a League One team, and not even a very good one. And then the comeback in that game was absolutely unbelievable. And it was the atmosphere. And again, I remember in the pod afterwards, Tim used the words. It was like he said it was like samba football. It was like the players and the team. The team were playing to the beat of the crowd, and it was just one of those absolutely.
Did I say that? That's quite.
Did, yeah.
Very poetic. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it stuck in my mind, Tim. It was very lyrical, and it was just an absolutely magical away day. And I, for complicated reasons, I'd gone on my own. I'd come a really convoluted route. I'd been to the West Country. I'd driven about 1,000 miles that weekend. I'd been to the West Country, and then I drove home on my own. And it was one of those games where I kind of just floated home on my own. I've just realised this is the game that probably Matt doesn't have so fond memories of, because I think it was the game when he gets stuck in a lay-by for 14 hours or something. So maybe he won't want that one. But I absolutely loved that game. It was one of my all-time favourite games that ever. So I'm going for Bournemouth as the best one. And I think Athers has eloquently put everybody's thoughts on Derby already. It was shit.
Matt, over to you then. Obviously, the unfortunate incident with the automobile you were travelling on, did that dampen your memories of that game?
Ever so slightly, yeah. To get a brilliant. I mean, Matt's eulogy then of the game was fantastic, and that's exactly how I remembered it as well. But yeah, just to get 45 minutes outside of Bournemouth and then take another 38 hours to get home wasn't very exciting, unfortunately. So stuck outside a mobile kebab house on whatever it is, M3 or something near Winchester for a long time. But yeah, that wasn't the best end to what was a fantastic day. So it was the best 90 minutes anyway. Let's put it that way. And then are we moved on to the worst, or are we still on the best at the moment? We're still on the best.
One of each.
Yeah. I'll go with the worst then, which was the. I mean, I didn't go to Derby. These are ones that I've actually physically been to, and Birmingham away was horrendous as well as Derby was. Probably more so in that it was about -6, and you just stood there freezing, and it was just horrible. And the lineup was wrong, and everything was wrong, and it was grim afterwards, and it was just a shite weekend, unfortunately. But yeah, so best was definitely Bournemouth from a personal perspective up to about 5:45, and then Birmingham was definitely a worst by far.
Whoever's going to come on next, then let's just look at the comments from Steve Hutchin. I agree with Steve here. I actually enjoyed Bristol City away simply because of the ending. Didn't feel like we'd played well, but it was like we'd arrived at the end. And I agree with that, Steve, because it was great to be back in the Championship, wasn't it?
I preferred that.
Did you?
I preferred that ending. The fact to be honest, it's a strange thing to say, but if we'd have gone and just walked to a 2-0 win, say, I just enjoyed having that moment where everyone kind of just looked at each other, just jumped on random people, just pandemonium in the stands, and you were just like, we've actually come so far here, back full circle to where we belong, and it was just that moment of connection again. And I think that kind of fed into where we are now again, and that's that connection again, growing with the players. All the players instantly jumping into the stands. Lavery's a new signing, comes on, just gets it straight away, works his arse off, understands that that's how you're going to be adored as a player at Blackpool. If you work hard and you're a scrappy player who tries to get his chances, then fans are always going to think of you as a good player. And straight away he's diving in the crowd, and he just understood it. And that's always nice to see, that instant connection.
Mm. It's always nice to wipe that smug grin off Nigel Pearson's face, isn't it?
He's such a dreary
have they won at home yet? Have they won at home yet? Because they had that ridiculous,
they
had that ridiculous run, didn't they?
I think they went on quite a good run not so long ago. But yeah, it was good.
Their game against Forest was hilarious. When they were winning 1-0, conceded an 89th minute penalty and ended up losing 2-1 in added time.
I remember
Brilliant.
That's when in the midst of that run as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Should we do a worst home then? Can I say the Keogh affairs? The Keogh affairs back to back. This was the point where we on this pod, obviously, we were probably looking back, trying to delete those as quickly as possible. But at that point,
it's Keogh Gate, it should be known as.
Yeah, the Keogh was.
We were mocking him, weren't we?
Quite frankly, in those two games, Keogh put in some of the worst centre half performances I've ever seen from a footballer. And it's clear now he mustn't have been fit, because there's no way you just turn like that, like flick a switch, and suddenly you're this superb centre half. But him on the right, he was right centre half, wasn't he? And James Husband on the left centre half, and their understanding was so bad. He didn't win a single tackle. His timing of his tackles was miles off. James Husband would be diving forward alongside him, and they keep turning us in behind. I thought Coventry still are one of, if not the best side that's come up against us this season, to be honest, in terms of good technical football. But fuck me, that like when those two games came back to back, you thought Cardiff fair enough because of who they were, physical unit, we were like, it's not our day. Then Coventry came along and did the exact same thing the next week, and this was the point where Marvin couldn't get a game, and none of us could understand why Marvin wasn't anywhere near the starting lineup. And that's still, like, I just will never get over the fact that Marvin couldn't start from the off in the Championship. But
I'm going to agree
at
with
that point where we're like, what is going on?
Sure. Does it not remind you? It reminds you of the beginning of last season, though, doesn't it? It's just exactly the same as the beginning of last season.
We were doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results and then suddenly, I think was it the game after that he threw, because we had the cup game. No, we had Bournemouth away. Did Marvin start there? Marvin started Bournemouth away because Husband was centre half.
Yeah, it was Marvin.
Connolly was right back, and Marvin was at centre half, and that's when we started to kick on then. And then obviously Keogh came back into the side and was against Fulham. Yeah, I think Keogh didn't start at Millwall, did he? He started against Fulham. That was the first time that they were together at centre half, because it was Stewart and Wintle in centre mid against Fulham. But it was just that moment. I was just like, we are like really not learning our lessons here, and I was really struggling to see where we go after that point.
I was at Coventry. Coventry for me was my kind of worst moment, because that was a game I expected us to compete, and that was a yardstick game for me. I thought, similar team. They've come up from 2 seasons down. We're at a kind of a similar level from progress of a football club, and we were miles away that night, and I was really worried after that game.
To be fair, we did get beat by a handball goal.
I just didn't think we were at the races, and I was thinking, shit, we are really going to struggle this season. Thankfully, not the case.
They did play very well. They still are probably I would say the away team that, I mean, you never enjoy watching somebody beat us, but they're probably the away team that I've enjoyed watching the most, as much as you can enjoy watching the other team beat you. And probably the team that, of all the games I've been at, apart from Bournemouth for about 25 minutes, the team where I've really felt like, hang on, these are the next level up. Whereas everybody else, I haven't really been that impressed with anybody, including Fulham. But I was very impressed with Coventry, and probably the only team that's impressed me consistently throughout the game.
Yeah, they were so well balanced that night because you had Callum O'Hare in centre mid and he was running the show, and then you had Gyökeres up top, who was such a physical presence, but he was a really good finisher as well. And then you had the play from out wide with wing backs. I think at this point, were we still on the Connolly right back thing, and we didn't have a right back at that point?
Yeah, we were,
and it was kind of like, this is if we're going towards a better future, then you need to look at how Coventry were utilising the wing backs, had that playmaker in midfield, and obviously we're kind of getting that a bit now with Keshia. We've got that with our wing backs, well, right hand side in particular at the moment. But it's kind of like that's the mantra of how you want to proceed as a team that goes up into League One, from League One to the Championship over a couple of seasons.
Okay, let's move on to the next section. We're on 40 minutes already, blimey. Best and worst, sticking to this now. Footballing aside, so what I want to ask now is the best and worst experience you've had as a match day experience kind of thing at Bloomfield Road. So if you all have a quick think. Joe, should we come to you first? I'm thinking facilities, stands, maybe
through
for
absolute no fault of his own. I sit at the very top of the north in E Block, and for me to get in, I've got to wait for the main head steward. He's called Matt, Scottish fella. Is the head steward at the ground, because he's got a key that I need to use the lift, because you go in via the NHS building on the corner. Now, through no fault of his own, I missed the first 5 minutes of the game on Saturday because some old fella had a fall and he had to attend to it. So I was sat like fuming, like, where is he? The game's going to bloody kick off. And like he came charging around saying, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Somebody had an accident. I had to wait until the St. John's ambulance got with him." So yeah, if I could get a key, Mr. Sadler, if you're watching this, if I can get a key to that door so I can get in the lift and not rely on the head steward to let me in, that's all I want for Christmas. Thank you, Mr. Sadler.
It's not a bad idea though, Joe, you know, to be honest, if it can help you out. And
well, I mean, to be honest, like me and Joe had a discussion about this the other day about the way disabled fans are treated generally at grounds, and I find that like pathetic that there's not the adequate facility for a disabled fan to get into their seat well before kickoff like everyone else.
Normally there is. We've just got to wait for the steward.
Well, that's not good enough, is it? Like at the end of the day, I know what you like we were saying before. You just crack on with it, but I personally think that's not good enough if we're going to be progressing as a generally as a club. I think you've got to have better facilities than waiting for a bloke with a key.
It's not as bad as
I would anticipate that when the
to
East
get
is
thrown out
sorted.
the ground at Stockport that one time.
Yeah.
Because I was in the home end and Adair swore at the linesman for calling Keegan Parker offside. Any more of that and you'll be out.
To be fair, guys, I think when the East is built, I think we'll probably find that the disabled facility will be increased immeasurably from what we've got at the moment. We're still dealing with the legacy issues there, aren't we? And but equally, let's get Joe a key. That should be our mantra.
And to be fair, it's not just Blackpool. A lot of disabled facilities. I'm lucky that I'm at the back. So when the weather's horrific, like it was against Luton a few days ago, I would have been at the front where the majority of the disabled fans sit. If my space was at the front for that Luton game, I would have just sacked it off. There would have been no way. I would have sat at the front and got drenched and windswept. I think in the north in E Block, there's about 5, maybe 6 wheelchair spots that are undercover. It's something that Simon's fully aware of, and like Tim says, I think once the East stand is developed, I think there'll be something a bit more up to scratch at Bloomfield Road. But Bloomfield Road certainly isn't the worst ground I've been in for disabled facilities, not by a long shot.
okay, to the room. Has anyone got anything? I won't go through to everyone. So if you're on, Tim, over to you. Best and worst experience at Bloomfield Road this season?
I think probably the worst experience, and it's actually not been on the obviously I'm dealing more with the sort of match day experience, is I felt at the end of the season that there was a massive problem in that the club didn't seem to understand the demands on the concourses, etc. and it was quite difficult if you wanted to get any type of refreshment. Now, to be fair to them, they have tried to address that as the season's gone on. But I found that's probably one of my worst experiences, was just feeling that as a customer you were at the back of the queue. But that's sort of improved. The best experience for me is just, and I think this is born out of where we've come from and what we've been through, is just the sheer joy of being in the ground and the atmosphere. I think particularly in the north, where I go, I say particularly in the north, but I think actually when I've been out of the north and been involved, it's been great to see how it's sort of cascaded around the ground into the west and the south. And I think the atmosphere at Blackpool at the moment is as good as I can ever remember. And listen, as good as a football is on the pitch, the match day experience is important. You know, how many teams do you go, look at Arsenal? It's got one of the worst atmospheres in the country. They might see some good football, but the experience is all, and the experience is what goes on the pitch and what goes on off the pitch. And I think we are top of our game on what goes on off the pitch, and it's pretty good on the pitch as well. So as a home spectator, I think it's a fantastic time to watch Blackpool Football Club.
Connor, got your hand up?
Yeah. My worst experience at Bloomfield Road this season absolutely has to be Huddersfield with that 3-0 loss. Not necessarily for what was happening on the pitch. On the pitch, we played quite well. But because whenever Huddersfield, there weren't enough seats in the Blackpool dugout to accommodate Huddersfield's rather large backroom staff for some reason. So you had like 4 of their coaches sat in the stands with fans. And I happened to be next to one of them. And whenever Huddersfield scored, he would turn to me and be like, oh, yeah, that player was out of position. Or, oh, yeah, he should have closed down him. And it was fucked me right off.
That's kind of a good and a bad thing, isn't it? It's like quite an interesting aspect to being at a game, I guess. But yeah,
you picked the perfect fan to do that to.
I was going to say,
would appreciate that.
Yeah, throw some stats.
Connor, you just had your notebook.
Do you not know who I am?
I thought you'd have had your notebook out, taking notes from his notebook, and then correcting
swatted him with it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for us, spending the entire game waiting for us to score a goal, so I could turn around and be like, "Oh, I told you so." Or, "Oh yeah, you did that wrong." But then it just didn't come, and I was like,
Richard's got a good comment in the chat, which is surely one of the main down points has been the policing. I mean, I'm not asked about, I'd turn up. I quite missed when we used to go and it was like a wet terrace and there was no roof and it was just grim and miserable, because that's what I'm like. But the policing that's been the low point of the season. I think. Yeah, after the Preston game, and then what game was it when we went out and we just all got like blocked on Bloomfield Road for about? Was that Stoke?
I think it was QPR, actually.
Stoke was where they led the away fans.
It was QPR.
Stoke was the other one they made a
category A game.
Yeah.
Yes.
And those are the 3 things really. I mean, you can say what you like about the match day experience. It's been, I agree with Tim. It's been a bit crap. Not really being able to buy a beer and whether the stewards are as smiley as they could be or not, I don't really care. Whatever, go watch the football. But it's not been on the way we've been treated after games sometimes. And hopefully that's sorted out now. Hopefully they have listened and hopefully they've got a new strategy. So I think Rich is spot on with that.
I was going to say my one of my highlights was the when the Preston fan group met with the police. And they said that with the police's review of what they did, it was the funniest thing I've ever read in my life. So it's like the one where there's supposed to be a police spotter on the roundabout for when the Preston coaches come in to then ring the police that were at Bloomfield Road to let them know that they're on their way. And they couldn't make 2 phone calls to do that. And there was a breakdown in communication that they forgot to ring the police. So then these coaches of Preston fans just happened to turn up at Bloomfield and they're all looking around like, well, you didn't ring us.
The best bit then was when they were saying, and they were trying to get the Preston fans back on the buses, but the Preston fans had their own buses up. So they had to wait for some more buses.
They had because there was that, I didn't realise at the time, but there was some some guy was filming it, and they're on like these old Blackpool transport buses and stuff coming in, like just absolutely battered full of these like buses that they brought in. It was just, honestly, that whole saga where there was just complete lack of responsibility. That statement after that Preston game was one of the most just vile things that I've ever seen in my life in terms of just complete lack of responsibility from the police. And they really did think they were going to get away with it. But as per usual, they messed with the wrong group of fans, unfortunately, and it was never going to end that way. Exactly. End of discussion.
Any more? Tim, let's talk about the kind of self-service booths for beer. I've still not seen them. Matt's shaking his head.
Well,
Shocking.
You need to come in the north rather than wherever you go wandering off.
No, Matt's shaking his head.
I am.
Why is Matt
They're
shaking
around the
his head?
corner, aren't they? They're on the corner bit.
Yeah,
aren't
so if you walk towards probably E Block or between D and E Block and exit onto the concourse there, you'll see it looks like you're going to the IMAX cinema with those little things that you where you stick your card and get your tickets out of. And all you do is turn up there, press a couple of buttons, order yourself a half-time beer or a pre-match. You can do it pre-match and half-time. You can't do it. You can't turn up at half-time and do it for half-time. You've got to do it before the game starts. Don't know what time they cut it off, but there's a cut-off point at some point. And then you get a ticket, and then you take your ticket up and get your beer at half-time. To be fair, there's quite a lot of cut onto it now, and it's not quite as easy.
I was going to say,
I
used it once for the Preston game, and the queue was just as long because of how many people were using it at the same time. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Matt, well, let's come to Matt. Matt was shaking his head. I think Tim's painting a utopian picture of this system, but I think the reality is somewhat different, Matt.
Well, my only experience and one and only experience of it is that 20 minutes before the game started, like Tim said, you put your half-time request in, 5 beers or whatever it is, get your little ticket, pay for it, blah, blah, blah. You get to half-time and you're thinking that you're just going to join some sort of like, I don't know, privileged queue so you can pick up your beers. No, you're just joining everybody else who wants a beer, irrespective of the fact that you're pre-ordered or not. So you
what? Are you serious? Are you serious?
That is what happened to us.
You're not in the north. That's not right in the north.
Well, it wasn't right, but it was in the north. I can tell you that. It was absolutely in the north. So whether it was...
Were you in A and B block or something?
C is where we sit. So we ordered on the E block.
Yeah, there's like a side bit to the bar. You go to the side bit of the bar.
But your stewards are there. Your stewards are there. Your bar staff are there, and no one had a effing clue what to do. And
Matt, you weren't pissed at the time, were you?
No. In fact, I wasn't actually ordering a beer. I was ordering a Diet Coke or whatever the case may be. So it was a one and only experience, which I'll never repeat, because I don't go to the... I mean, you'll find this surprisingly, but I don't go to the match to actually have a beer, strangely enough. I go to the match to watch the football, but I do that pre and post match. But it's just annoying when there's 5 of us there's more than 5 of us, but in this particular instance, there's 5 of us willing to part with whatever, 20 quid or something, and it just fell flat on its arse, and that was it. Like it is with most customer service experiences. Once you have a bad experience, you don't do it again, and we haven't done it again since. So whether there's an alternative or whatever, I don't think any of us are willing to give it a try, quite frankly.
It's bizarre that, Matt, because every time I've been up, everybody when you go to that bar, when you go to the bar under between C and D block, the left-hand side is for your pre-purchases, and nobody in that queue is anything other than pre-purchase, and then the right-hand side is cash on the when you want to pay on the day. So I don't know how that's happened. So all I can say is try it again, because
I think Tim's got shares in this company actually.
Well, no, it's not, to be honest, it's not as good as it was because there's too many people doing it now. But you get your beer within 5 minutes max.
Yeah, I was going to say,
without a shadow of a doubt.
Like Tim says, it's left is pre-purchases, right? It's like the normal bar.
So
but
if you've gone right, you've got in the wrong queue. So
like I said, we asked the relevant members of staff, and they didn't have a clue. And whether it was bad training from
they didn't have a clue in me either. I kind of just blagged my way to the front, to be fair. So
I mean that's one way of doing it, but I'm far more polite than you, Sean, obviously.
We need an unlikely hero to step up in the fresh from his kind of heroics in terms of showing fans how to use the new season ticket kind of readers. We need the SLO to do a DIY video on how to use the pre-order bar, and then you can get Joe a key at the same time.
The simplest thing to do, as Tim will absolutely testify, is just to join the German model and just take your beers in.
Exactly.
That's the way to do it.
Exactly.
Connor, what would make that video even better is if he goes to get his pint and he downs it in one and then puts it on his head.
He'll have to come out of the black void he stepped into after doing the season ticket video, won't he?
And then he does a wide-eyed stare into the camera. That's how it's done.
Matt, the only concern I've got about his beers in the ground is, can you imagine the beer that will be thrown when Blackpool gets scored? Your clothes will be permanently at the dry cleaners, won't they?
There is an argument just to throw that beer anyway, because the majority of it tastes like piss. That's
the other thing. I'll be honest. I'm not in a rush to join a queue for Foster's, quite frankly.
Well, you're not going to the Heineken Experience bar, Matt.
No.
Has anyone ever had the bitter? I think we said it on air before. I had a pint with my brother, and he said it tastes like cold tea and Bovril combined.
So I have to drink cider in there. I can't drink either.
The Seasiders Ale out of the can is all right. Top tip for everyone on here, I know who's listening. Try the Seasiders Ale. It's in a can. So it's got a reasonable amount of quality in it. But has anyone ever tried it? It's all right.
Yeah, I have. It's all right.
It's a bit like that Hop House Lager that Guinness do. Right, okay. Let's move on to players, good and bad. What's coming on this? Who's impressed? Who hasn't?
I'll go first.
Connor was first.
Oh no! I was I know what he was going to say. I know
by far the best
player.
Yes, I think the player we didn't expect to step up from this time last season is Keshia Anderson.
Yes,
he has been by far the best player this season. In Mitch's recent blog, his season review blog, he points out kind of the chances created, key passes metrics for Keshia Anderson, and they're like 3 times that of our next best player. He's just been a one-man attacking force at times. I love him to bits. I wish he could start every single game on the left. He's building partnerships with Luke Garbett. He started building a really effective partnership with Reece James, and he's just so key to what we do in a way that, given his injury struggles kind of last year, I don't think anyone would have expected.
Tim?
I think probably the looking at. I agree on Kesh. I think Kesh has been superb, as has Equiteta. I think if you're looking at the downsides, I think we've probably struggled to score goals. And as Steve Hutchinson has mentioned in the chat, I think we gave TJJ too much time on the pitch in certain games towards the beginning of the season, which I think arguably cost us points. And I think that's what we've probably seen, and we saw it last season, is that certain players get for bizarre reasons, seem to get too much game time when it's pretty obvious it isn't working, and other players who clearly can do the job struggle to make an impression, and so that ends up being a little bit of a frustration. But I think I'll stick with Keshia as the good. I think bad. I'm actually going to go. I'll be a bit controversial and say Kevin Stewart. I think it's been extremely frustrating for me that we've not seen him on the pitch more, and that's not bad. It's bad that he's not playing, and it's bad that. Is it
more of an annoyance? Is it more of an annoyance?
Probably annoyance in that we've effectively ended up. We've had, and this is my biggest annoyance of the season is the fact that Connolly plays centre midfield, because I think every time Connolly plays centre midfield, that's I think we're going to lose, and that's not he shouldn't be in centre midfield. He should be playing in a defensive position for us. But it's because we're effectively ended up with 2 central midfielders where we should have a cohort of 3, and we haven't. And it's very, very frustrating. But it's not that he's a bad player. It's that it's bad that we've ended up in this scenario where we're relying on 2 and then shoving a defensive player into the midfield to make up the numbers.
Speaking of shoving, I'll shove the speaker in the middle. Sean, away you go.
There we go. Yeah, I was just going to say, I asked Neil Critchley this morning about Tyrese John Jules because I kind of woke up this morning and I was like, oh, what's happening with Tyrese John Jules? So I thought, why not just sort of put that talk to him? He obviously he said that he's working hard, and to be honest, he emphasised quite a lot how well John Jules has reacted to sort of being down the pecking order, and that he is working very hard in training. I think the one thing that frustrates me with John Jules is this idea that he doesn't try and he doesn't work hard enough and these kind of things. I don't buy that at all. I thought his off the ball work was very good generally, and I think that's a hard stick to beat him with. And I think if you look at the performances of some of the players over the past 8 or 9 games, they fall into the same bracket as Tyrese John Jules' games for Blackpool for me in terms of form. So I think we have been I think he has been a bit of a scapegoat, but he's clearly not good enough to play at this level, much like a few other players in the team. But sorry, go on, Connor. I'll carry on.
I'm going to stake a bold claim, which I think Tyrese John Jules has been one of our more decisive players this season because his work off the ball against Fulham, to your point, was absolutely spot on. He and his marking shut down any progression they had from the back, stopped them getting it into the midfield, won the ball back on the press a couple of times. And I think he was absolutely vital for that win. And if we don't get that win against Fulham, we arguably don't have the same October. So in his own subtle ways, in his own subtle ways, Tyrese John Jules has saved us from relegation.
I think with him. So what's happened then since the 16th of October when his last appearance against Forest?
So essentially, what the problem with Tyrese John Jules is that he can't finish. That is his problem. He can't do it. He has no composure. He's got really poor decision making in the final third, and he can't finish. But I would argue neither can 3 out of the 6 natural wingers that we have, or players in those sort of positions. I think there's multiple other players that also have that problem. But I think that, look, clearly he's a League One player and he should realistically have played for he should have made the step from Doncaster, because I don't think he pulled up any trees really at Doncaster. He looked a good technical player. Critchley brought him in based off of his Arsenal time and his time in the youth ranks, and he thought that, and I think that's the thing with why he tried him so much. I think he just has that genuine belief in him, and he still does. From what he said today, he still thinks he's a very good player. And he still thinks that he is a good technical player. I just think he just doesn't suit us. I don't think generally. I think that he's a league, like I say, he's a League One player. But I'm not saying that he's not bad. He's had a bad season for us. He's been a bad signing. But what I'm saying is, I think it was very harsh for him to be this scapegoat. I just don't like the idea that he didn't work hard, because off the ball he was very good. He always has been very good off the ball for us.
He was superb at Bournemouth. I mean, Mitch mentioned Bournemouth being one of his one of our best games, and I thought he was fantastic there. And you can see glimpses, but glimpses aren't enough at this level because it's very unforgiving, this league. And when he isn't performing, he's a passenger, and that's doesn't seem to be in between with him. It seems to be either he's good and it's probably 20% of the time he's on the pitch, and the rest of the time he's basically completely ineffectual. And we can't have that.
That was Kai, wasn't it? And that's like, but that's the thing for just want to say it for Mitch's sake. I just want to say it for Mitch. But that's what Critchley thought Kai was. So it is what it is.
We'll scrub that comment, Sean, because it's actually Joe next. Yeah. We'll pretend we've never mentioned Sully Kai. Okay, over to you, Joe.
Thank you, there, Mitch. Obviously, I'm going to leave Gary Medine off the too good bit because he's on a whole nother level, a whole nother plane of existence.
2017.
You just don't understand football. It's not all about your XGs. Don't forget the XS. I'm going to mention 2 players that haven't been brought up yet. Dan Grimshaw, who's won me over after not really impressing me too much in the pre-season games. I will apologise now for calling him a noodle-wristed buffoon. I thought he was excellent when he came in for Maxwell. And to be fair, he's taken over the number 1 jersey now for me. Another player, Jordan Gabriel, I think we look a much better team when he's in it.
Great shout.
2 bad players. I'm going to go with Connolly and Dale, who are both League One players at best. Sorry, just my opinion.
This
League
Dale
One
pattern needs
donkey.
to stop. This Dale pattern needs to stop, Joe. We're gonna have
It will
fists.
never stop. Never.
Mark, let's bring Matt in. Matt S.
So good. I mean, I think an obvious one would be Marvin Equiteta. He's coming. People sort of forget where he's come from. Really, East Thurrock, only 2 years ago or thereabouts, and he just looks every inch 6'4" of a Championship player. And the other one, which I can't believe I'm actually saying this, is Jimmy Husband. He's not everybody's cup of tea, certainly not my cup of tea last year, that's for sure. But, the way he's absolutely conducted himself and stepped in whenever there's been an issue at the back, you can't fault his effort at all, can you? So, those two players in particular, I think, have done exceptionally well for us. The bad, I think I'm a bit on the TJJ camp in that there's a player there, but unfortunately, it's probably just the wrong time for us to have him in our squad, and we hopefully will have possibly a TJJ plus come January. And the other one for me is more a frustration than a bad thing, is Josh Bowler, because you just never know what you're going to get, as Forrest Gump would say. And, one day he turns up and it's Ronaldinho, and then the next day it's Ronald McDonald in it. So, it's just frustrating. But that's all it is. It's frustrating. It's not bad. It's frustrating. So,
Matt, life's a box of chocolates. You got to remember that.
It is indeed. Yeah. And at the moment, he's Turkish delight, isn't he? Unfortunately.
I like Turkish delight.
So do I. I love
Turkish
Turkish
delight.
There you go. 2 out of 7, perhaps.
There
I
we
don't know.
I like those purple ones that are quite straight. Mitch, let's you can close this section off. Players good and bad.
Well, I just want to say very quickly, with Matt picking Jimmy, that was going to be mine. I mean, he's not been the best player this season. It's obviously, Keshia, Marvin, Gabriel, but what he's probably given me the most satisfaction in that he's a player that, unlike Matt, he always has been my cup of tea, because he gives absolutely everything. And even under Larry, I thought he was decent. I couldn't really understand why people didn't rate him. I know he got sent off a few times, but it's given me such satisfaction to see him stepping up, and to see him stepping up to a level that I didn't actually think he was capable of. Like Saturday, he made some beautiful decisions defensively, where he didn't commit himself, where he shielded the ball, or he sort of just tracked the ball out of play, and the way he's developed over the last 2 years is tremendous. And he's been this player where, if you look on forums and Twitter and stuff for the last 2-3 years, people just write, well, we need better player than Jimmy Husband if we're going to get promoted. We need a better player than Jimmy Husband if we're going to be in the Championship. We need a better player. And there'll still be people writing, well, if we want to be top half Championship, we need a better player than Jimmy Husband. And he's just given me such satisfaction, because he's been superb. And I must admit, I hate to see him. I still don't like to see him at centre half. It's like a reflexive thing, and he's been terrific at centre half, as well as being sort of the most winningest player ever at left back. So I'd go for Jimmy as the player who's given the most satisfaction. And I don't think I can add to the bads. I think we've said everything there is to say on that.
Fair enough. Okay, let's move on to the next sections of the show. Next section. And that is the league table and our predictions. So it's got our predictions reviewed. Let's try and make this as audio pod friendly as we possibly can.
I think a few of us will have to leave at this point for our own sanity.
So shall we bring up the current league table or our predictions for the league table first? What do we think? Our predictions first. Okay. I have to get the banner out of the way. All right, everybody, avert your eyes to the screen there. Let's go from top to bottom then. So the vast majority of us had Fulham coming in top, apart from Sean, who had them third. And let's magically flick over to the current league table. So Fulham are there in first position. So I think we're all pretty much on the money there, aren't we?
So Sean gets eliminated.
Yeah.
Quick, eliminate Sean before Sheffield United turn up.
That's Sean muted. Good. Second in the league, we have Bournemouth. If we look at the Bournemouth, so we've all got Matt had them third, I had them third, Tim had them third, Nick had them fourth, Mitch had them seventh,
I had
Sean
them
had them
second.
first, Tom third, and Connor second. So who's eliminated from this one?
I'm the only person 2 for 2 so far.
Mate.
Matt, must be Matt. Matt's way off.
Mitch.
You 2
Matt
for 2,
Mitch.
Connor?
He is, yeah. Should we wait for the next one, lads? I don't think that's going to last
Okay.
much
Can I
longer.
just quickly say that the actual league table is my predictions. That's how I predicted
Yeah,
the table is going to be. So I'm going to bow out at this stage, and I'll come back in about 5 minutes. I'll just make myself a brew. Goodbye.
Right. Where you
It's
go?
actually all a fix run by Joe.
Yeah, Joe wasn't on the full-time staff at the time, so he.
Whoever
Let's
gives him a
make it.
key, whichever club gives him a key to get in, is the higher up the table. That's how it works.
I mean, looking at this, I think we've all bonged on Huddersfield and Coventry, haven't we? Looking at the
And Blackburn.
table, and Blackburn, yeah.
Let's just go back to the actual league table. We've got Blackburn in third. Look at the form they're in there. 1-1-1-1-1. Where did we all have Blackburn then? Let's have a look.
Mid-table.
We were all. None of us
I
were.
had him outside.
Mainly.
I had him outside the playoffs.
Sean's got that one, hasn't he? One for Sean there. He had him in
And
seventh.
Tim, he's equal with Tim.
I had him 19th. I had a real.
It's just Lancashire rivalry getting
Yeah, I
away.
think
isn't
anyone
it?
who puts
Yeah.
Blackburn high doesn't put enough weight in the Lancashire rivalry and should be considered a traitor and eliminated.
Yeah, I kicked out again. Fourth, we've got West Brom. I would imagine we'd have all had them quite high. Yeah, Matt had them top.
Connor, well done, lad.
Connor's a genius. Look at this.
He is.
He's the rain man
I'm
of
a-
the Seasiders podcast.
I asked us to bring Connor on, and then I'm quickly regretting that decision because I'm not going to have a contract at my work in 12 months' time because they're going to quickly realise they picked the wrong guy.
Yeah, he's making you look bad. I had a lot of
Yeah.
people saying, "Yo, we really enjoyed the match reaction show
Yeah,
hosted by
exactly.
Connor." I never get things
He's
like
one
that.
man, mate.
I still haven't been
Finish.
pulled at a match though to say well done on the podcast. There must not be a lot of listeners in the West.
Because the West Stand still listen to like aerial radio.
No, it's
We've all
because
got,
they're in
they've all
awe
got
of you.
Radio 4 on in the background.
Yeah.
It's because they're in awe of you, Connor. That's what it is.
The Huddersfield technical director, maybe, or the sports coach, whatever he was. Let's get back to the actual league. Where are we now?
We've had a mayor. We've had a mayor on Huddersfield. haven't we?
QPR in fifth. Don't jump the gun, Tim.
Oh,
QPR.
sorry, I thought you were talking about Huddersfield.
Yeah, we're all pretty on point with QPR, apart from I take everything back what I've just said.
Connor.
Connor
Mark
has
Warburton,
QPR.
we trust.
13th. We've all got them. Matt 7, me 5th. Tim 5th. Nick had them 8th. Matt had them, Mitch had them 6th. Sean 5th. Tom 5th. Mitch had them 13th. Unlucky for you.
Well,
Yeah, 5th. Yeah, they are 5th.
well, coming into Championship from League One, I'd kind of lost a reference point for what QPR were like. And my only reference point was Bright Osei Samuel. And I was like, you know what? He's kind of like a 13th place player.
He
got
left
games
a
in
couple of
hand
years
as
ago,
well.
though, didn't he? He left a while ago.
He's
though.
in Fenerbahce now.
Mm. Yeah, your out of date knowledge on Bright Osei Samuel has let you down there, Connor. I think
I think
you need to
Stoke
update that
lad.
knowledge on him.
But to be fair, I predicted on the basis of Andy Sinton and Les Ferdinand. So,
Stoke 6th. I would imagine we are these mid-table.
Mid-table. Yeah.
I think we're not that clever on this one.
Oh, look at this.
Oh dear.
Who's winning? So 14, 9, 10, 11, 5. Who's Sean Adams 17th.
It's a long way to
Sean,
go.
oh,
It's a long
Sean,
way to
you know,
go.
you're way
Michael
off with a few
O'Neill.
of these.
Michael O'Neill's been shite for ages, and then he just turned it on now.
Tom Adam 10th and Connor Adam 9th. So Connor's the nearest, along with me, may I add there.
I realise you put Notts Forest in the prediction thing, in the predict the table thing, which will get a lot of people annoyed.
Not as annoyed as calling Sheffield United Sheffield.
Sheffield.
Hey, Connor.
John, Chris will be after you. Like,
Yeah, but what
they're
about?
sharpening their pitchforks now.
Everybody who's
used to
listening everybody who's listening to this, I never called them Sheffield. I always called them Sheffield United. So, let's think about your plaudits for the host of the match reaction shows going forward, eh?
I always think of Nottingham Forest as Notts Foz.
Oh
We used
dear.
to get that, yeah.
Where were you brought up?
Well, that's what they had. They always used to have that in the table in the paper, Notts Foz.
Notts Foz. Oh.
Yeah.
So we're all pretty on point with Forest. Me particularly,
No, I was miles off.
Tim,
mate.
8. Sean's
I think
miles off
Sean-
again. He's miles off again.
It's a good job he's got. It's a good job he's got this blue tick, isn't it? Because
that
otherwise,
contract's
we'll start to
secured.
really worry about his credentials.
I think Twitter should actually revoke that blue tick.
Yeah.
They're actually white now, aren't they? We need to be pedantic about it.
Have they? I've not seen that.
Yeah.
I'll let you know,
8th.
Tim, in a second. I'll just go on my profile that has a tick. So. No, it's blue, John. You're incorrect.
Is it?
Maybe it's the
it's
fact that
'cause I'm
maybe
using
you've
the
got
dark
the
theme.
skin. Yeah.
Yes, I've got the dark skin on,
Yeah.
8th for who do we have? Coventry. But not many of us have Coventry in 8th. Oh,
I haven't
John,
got
John, that's not too bad.
Miles
John, to be
off.
fair.
John's
Fair play,
nearest. John's. I think I'm doing all right actually. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. Tim had them 20th. Matt had them 20th.
It's an aberration.
Sean had them
that, isn't it?
20th. Look at this.
That extra one on mine is a typo. I meant to type 8th. I'm claiming the moral victory there.
I don't think I'd ever watched Coventry play before this season, to be fair.
I think I probably typed it in wrong. That's why I've got them there. Middlesbrough 9th. I would imagine we've got that's similar. Yeah, me 7th.
Me,
Tim,
fucked
not-
it again.
Sean's 13th.
Made a word with
Is
Neil
Sean
Warnock.
just put about 12 teams to finish 18th and 13th?
That's essentially I
Is that
ran
how
out of numbers and then just like lobbed these other teams that happen to exist into random places.
So we've got Huddersfield, Sheffield United, Millwall. Let's jump to Blackpool. Going to be on that otherwise, aren't we? So
Can I just say with Huddersfield? Sorry, our reasoning for that was that they signed Ollie Turton a week before.
let's look at Huddersfield because
reasoning.
let's have a look at Huddersfield because we are playing them. So they are 10th at the moment.
And Sheffield United as well because of Connor.
They'd signed nobody when we actually did this prediction. They'd signed nobody and they'd struggled. They had a
Their fans
really
were
crap
protesting.
second half of last season, didn't they? And they plummeted down the league. So I think our actual
Look
the
at
analysis behind it was right, but they've just booked the trend.
So
Yeah, I
we've
follow
pretty
it.
much all of us, the highest position
It's 21st.
out of all of us is Connor, which put them at 21st. The rest of us had them at
Connor knew
22nd
the
or
Corberan train was ready to roll. But to be
Right,
fair,
right,
they've dropped off a cliff recently. They've just won last week, but they have dropped off a cliff
Yeah,
basically.
they were cannon fodder this year, weren't they? At the beginning, if you looked at the beginning of the season, they were the cannon fodder, and to be fair to them, they booked the trend massively.
Well, if you look at who's their best assist player is Sorba Thomas. Sorba Thomas didn't exist in anyone's conscious at that point. And now he's got 8 assists this season. So they've kind of come onto a job with that, really. But I'll let Connor continue because he clearly knows a lot
The
more.
other thing to be aware of is that obviously Carlos Corberan is a massive Marcelo Bielsa disciple and tries to, with limited success, implement similar principles. So, with that kind of aggressive system, you're going to have a similar kind of drop off, like Leeds do often. So who knows? We may all be looking at this at the end of the season thinking we got it exactly right because they'll have a disastrous second half of the season again.
I'll make an even more hipster point on that, actually. As an Argentinian football expert, Godoy Cruz also have the old assistant manager for Marcelo Bielsa in the Argentine professional division. And they did the similar thing where they won 7 games in a row under him and then didn't win in 14, playing the similar principles. So as Connor says, it can be a drop-off. Thank you. Good night.
now Sheffield United.
Here we go.
Sheffield United are currently 11th.
Form horse.
So we've all had them in the top 6 apart from Sean. Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, he's finally got
I
one.
want to point out
Yes.
though, but Sean's being smug. I mean, this isn't the predictions. We weren't asked to predict the league halfway
We
through.
did,
were
we
We
did.
were asked to
Oh, no,
predict
we
the
weren't.
league at the
Forgot
end.
about that.
Yeah, but the
You
thing
know,
is,
so-
Mitch, what
yeah.
you're forgetting is Paul Heckingbottom exists now. That is the problem.
Right. Blackpool are currently 13th on 30 points. We predicted, drum roll please, Matt 17, John 19, Tim 14, Nick 9.
Are you reading Black?
No, hang a minute. I'm
Sorry,
11th.
yeah. Sorry. Matt 16, John 18, Tim 11, Nick 16, Matt 16, Sean 11, Tom 13. Tom's got it on the nail. Connor 17. I think we're all there or thereabouts, aren't we?
Yeah.
Apart from me. who had
Some
an
of us are
8
nearer
pounds
than
next to-
others, I think.
Yes, a lot nearer than others.
Should we do
Let's just go
relegation?
Yeah, let's just do relegate. Let's do P&E and let's just do P&E and relegation. So P&E are currently 15th on 28 points. I know what Tim had them as.
I'm on a mare on this one at the moment.
Matt 18, me 22nd, Tim 24th, Nick 21st.
Why?
That's
Why did you
19.
think it would finish above, below Derby?
That's what we
Because
all
of
said at the
because
time.
of Preston.
He said because of that shit, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Derby have had more points taken off them since the start of the season, haven't they? So didn't think they were going to have quite as many. And I just thought Preston is shit.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that, can you? Right, let's do the relegation spots before this bores everyone to tears apart from us. Right, we've got Peterborough in 22nd. They are currently in 22nd position on 19 points. Matt, 22nd.
Oh yes.
John 16, Tim 19, Nick 20th, Mitch 24th, Sean 22nd. All right, he's on a roll now. Tom 20, Connor, come on, Eyes 22nd. So we've all
So
pretty much
I've-
nailed that.
I'm a
apart
good
from
eye
me.
for who's shit, just not who's good.
I think we're all on the money there, apart from me, unfortunately. Barnsley 23rd. Now, a lot of us didn't think this. From memory.
I think we're definitely
Valerian
not on the money
Ishmael
on
was
this one.
Valerian Ishmael was the manager of Barnsley at the time we did this, and then he moved to West Brom a week later. So
Look at that. Mitch had been 4th. Sean 6th, Tom 7, Connor 5th, Tim 6th.
Yeah.
Matt
They had a great
6th,
season last season, to be fair.
Me 11 and Nick. Nick's kind of Nick's on the money there. Ish.
Change of manager, that's what we'll rely on. It's
they went to the Austrian Bundesliga for a third time, and it just went absolutely to pot.
It's an
manager they
anomaly.
got.
Right. If anyone's got Derby not in 24th, you're a bit of an idiot. So idiots are Tim, Matt, Mitch. Sorry.
I've got them 22nd, to be fair. And they've got
There's
more.
only
They
really
weren't
Mitch-
minus 21 when we did this, though, were they?
No, exactly. They were
It
minus
was,
12.
it was on the cards, though. It was
Look,
on the cards.
If you
I
don't
still-
understand, the principles of financial fair play and the EFL rule book, don't blame it on the rest of us.
Yeah, but the EFL never
Don't
follow their own
their
rule book
bloody
anyway.
rule book, do they? I mean, Tim just said that in
Yeah, but to
stereo.
be fair, at that point when we did this prediction, Derby were terrible on the field as well. Like Wayne Rooney somehow kept them up on the last day. They had nothing going for them at that point.
Can I
Yeah, but
just
there's
say, I still
Peterborough in
think
the
that
league.
they'll-
Joe can interrupt and we'll end this section and move on to Huddersfield preview. So away you go, Joe.
I still think Derby won't finish bottom.
What?
Who will?
They'll go down, they'll get relegated, but I think Barnsley and Peterborough are just so shit. One of them will finish below Derby.
I'll finish below Derby and give Darren Ferguson a new contract.
Yeah.
He must be rubbing his
That'll
hands
be a
together.
real kick in the teeth for Darren Ferguson, which is ironic because that's what he gave his wife. Can't get
Okay, can we
sued.
hit the editing
Can't get sued.
studio?
That actually happened in court. Can't get sued. Guilty.
Oh, okay.
All right. Huddersfield.
Yes, Huddersfield preview. So, Sean, Huddersfield are 3 points and 3 places above us in 10th. We're on 13th. We're on 33 points. We're on 30. Form average, as you've said, lost, drawn, 1. Last 5 games. Where did you see this game going? And how did Huddersfield play? Has it deviated from what we saw at Bloomfield Road, at the Bloomfield Road massacre? 3-0, 0-3
To be
earlier
fair,
in the season.
we had a bad 15 minutes and they scored 3 goals. And I thought we were the better team in the first half, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, Critchley said a similar thing today. It was sort of that 15-minute spell we just made with the 2 good goals, to be fair, and then obviously Equiteta.
Yeah, their first was an absolute worldie.
Yeah, cracker, yeah. I wouldn't say that they've deviated. I'd say that they've kind of lacked in terms of results-wise recently. But if you're looking at sort of positive signs to take, I guess, is the fact that Turton probably will play right back. And I'll continue that for the rest of my life, that Ollie Turton is not a very good footballer, and I will stick by that. I think that it's especially as a right wing back in a back 3, he's basically playing they play 3-4-2-1 under Corberan. Sorba Thomas is their main assist man. He didn't play last time out. Pieper, their Portuguese or Spanish player, is injured. They've got a couple of injuries. Jonathan Hogg, these type of players are out injured as well. Look, they're a good side. They're a good passing side as well, and they're a good team that can play good football, which I like to see. And I think that if we're on it like we were with the intensity against Peterborough, we'll give them a game. I think that we can't get overrun in midfield, in central midfield, which is what's happened quite often against back 3s in the run, where we couldn't pick up a game. Is quite easily teams were able to come inside and beat us narrow, and then once they beat us narrow, they're able to get the wing backs overloading, and then you're on a hard into nothing at that point. So it's about keeping the midfield tight and compact, but I think we'll be absolutely fine, to be honest. I think it's a good away game to get, but at the same time, we have to be up to the same intensity levels as Peterborough. Like Tim said earlier in the season, every time that we've played, you think of all of our memorable games, it's when the intensity's been high, it's when we've worked well off the ball. These are the hallmarks of when we're putting in a good performance. And if in the first 20 minutes or so we're dropping off a bit and we're not quite showing that, then question marks will start to be asked then, because I think that you can't do that against a side like Huddersfield, as we saw at home. The minute you drop off a little bit, then they're going to try and punish you. So it'll be an interesting game, but I think it's a half decent away game to come up against next.
Joey, shaking your head?
No, to be honest, I was just shaking my head at what you wrote in the private chat. But no,
are you going to get sued? I've just written.
Yeah, probably. No, I'll be fine. No, I agree.
I'll give you some advice. I know quite a bit about defamation.
To be honest, I agree with what Sean's saying. I mean, I know it's a cliche thing to say there are no easy games in the Championship. I still think that the game at our place was just one of those crazy things where they scored a great goal, our heads dropped, and we had a mad 15 minutes. I'm hoping that they take us lightly. I'm hoping they remember, we beat these 3-0 away from home. This will be a piece of piss. And they rock up thinking it'll be an easy game, because if they do, hopefully we'll catch them on an off day, because we know that this team's good enough to beat anybody in the division on the day. But I don't know. It's just going to be one of them. I'm just hoping the game's on, to be honest.
I think
that's my main concern.
You were saying about whether they think about the 3-0. I saw Corberan's comments about how he thinks he kind of knows how we set up and we play one way, which I found bizarre, personally. I think
a lot of managers have said that, haven't they?
It's strange. It is strange because obviously I asked Critchley last week about sort of why we never win against back 3s, and he didn't give much of an answer in terms of why we do. He was thinking about trends generally of the division playing back 3s against us. But I also think that you can't say that we're one-dimensional in any sense. We're against Peterborough was the perfect game of our adaptability. We started with a 4-4-2. We controlled the ball. We tried to get the ball up the pitch higher. We could naturally proceed possession up the pitch, and then against tired legs, we changed it to a more of a fluid 4-2-3-1. We were able to get balls in behind more often, and that's what was the difference maker to win the game. So I think to say that we're a team that he's almost got our card marked is quite naive on his part. So that's a positive for me, the fact that he thinks he knows what we're going to do. But it will be interesting to see if we are as adaptable as that Peterborough game. I think obviously Peterborough dropped into a back three, but then they're a back four in possession and then dropped into a back five almost in defensive aspects. But I think if you're looking at how we play generally, I think that will we perhaps keep the 4-4-2? Will he be tempted to go back to the 4-2-3-1 because of how it worked in the last 15 minutes? It will be interesting to see.
I think reading between the lines, what you're saying about adaptability is essentially, I don't think Medine played against Huddersfield. So if he plays against Huddersfield, they'll be shocked and we'll win maybe 3-4-0, I think is always what you're kind of saying there, Sean.
I'm not going to fall into this Gary Medine baiting, and I'm going to cut it off right here. What I will say, and you can take this however you want in the great Gary Medine debate, what I will say is Huddersfield recently have turned into a bit of set piece monsters. There's something they seem to be really, really working on. They're creating a lot of chances from set pieces. They seem to always be playing for them a little bit more and trying to get as many of them as they can. And we're just not very good at set pieces.
I'm
and
just going to say, I hope the game's off now.
Yeah, we're really worried that's going to be the decider because they'll have these great deliveries in that end up in the back of the net. And we'll just have Ryan Wintle hitting it at the referee and the first man for the entirety of the game.
Bless him.
Right, let's go around the room, match predictions, and then we'll piss off. Because Matt looks like he needs matchsticks to keep those eyes open. So...
No offense, lads, but you're boring the shit. No. It's a long day.
Right, Steve in the comments said 2-0 away win. Matt?
I'll settle for a point. I think if we can keep Lewis O'Brien under wraps, we'll be all right. But yeah, I'll settle for a point tomorrow. Boxing Day, sorry.
Score?
1 each.
Joe?
I'm going to agree with that. I will be very happy with a point. I'm going to go 1-1, and it's going to be a Christmas miracle. Keogh, 90th minute equaliser. Limbs.
You said the same thing about Derby. You can't just keep saying that until eventually it happens.
I will say it until it happens.
He can say what he wants, Connor. Go on, you give us yours then.
You know, I'm going to go 2-1 because I think we'll concede from a set piece, but I think we've got the attacking to power. And I quite like what Richard has said in the comments. I'm going to say the scorers are going to be Medine and Bowler.
Sean, have you got any response to that?
Yeah, thank fuck I'm isolating. 2-1 Blackpool win, I think. Yeah, I think we'll just about... I think it'd be a Middlesbrough-esque performance. That's what I'm seeing. So we're a bit kind of feel our way into the game first half, and then second half come up for it. Marvin Equiteta to get the winner. But Richard Keogh to claim it on the goal line, and we'll just give it them both because we love them both so much.
Keogh claiming it on the goal line, then it be given offside.
Yeah. Who would do such a thing? Maybe it would be Gary Medine that would do such a thing like that, eh? He would ruin a 3-point game against QPR with his terrible decision making.
I'm going to ignore that, Sean.
Yeah, and John's disappeared. He's found the Gary Medine chat so tedious.
I'll go with my predictions then. I returned to my bookie slayer days last Saturday, predicting amongst all things a Blackpool win, and I'm going to join. I think was it Richard, so whoever said 2-0 anyway. 2-0 away win. Keshia definitely on the score sheet, and probably Medine 2-0 away. Come on.
Well, I'm going to go for 2-0 as well, and we're going to score. They're going to score an own goal, and the other player who's going to score is going to be Jordan Gabriel, who is going to belt one, and it's going to be heading for the corner flag as his shots normally does, but take a ludicrous deflection and loop in the top corner, and we're going to go mental. So yeah, we're going to win.
And the Huddersfield player conceding the own goal.
Oh, well, it could well be Ollie Turton.
Oh, I beg of you.
Lad that I've never heard of that plays left back for them.
It bugs me, this baiting of Ollie Turton. He was a good player for us in that season. He was a good player.
Gabriel number 1, never in doubt.
Right.
I lost all love for Ollie Thurston when he went to Huddersfield and then said that the lack of Blackpool was a lack of professionalism because they won't let him eat burgers at Huddersfield because they have a nutritionist.
I remember that.
Can't think for himself, can he? Just like he can't defend, but there you go.
Have we all done our predictions then, apart from me?
I think so.
Yeah. I've just got a bad feeling about it.
No, don't end on a negative note, please.
Joe has said previously that we were just shit over this period, and we generally are. And I've just got I've got a bad feeling about it. I think we're gonna lose 2-0.
The tortoise is going to come out of hibernation. We'll be fine.
It's a bit like a code word from Nazi-occupied Germany. If you're trying to transmit between the resistance, the tortoise has come out of hibernation.
I got what you did there, Joe. Right,
everybody. Thanks for joining us on the show this evening. It's been a pleasure for you to join us all on Seasiders podcast. It's been our Christmas special, so I think we're gonna leave it there. What we got? Hopefully, if the game's on. I don't even know what day it is, on the 26th, on Boxing Day. We'll be coming to you after that at some point. And so I think from all of the panel that's been on this evening, I think we can all say thanks ever so much for your support on this first journey in the half of the season. Wish you all Merry Christmas. Don't get COVID and die or anything. And all that to be said is, thanks for listening. And up
the pole!
Up the pole!
Up the pole!
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.